At a high-end hotel, a young black girl uses her father's credit card to buy some food while waiting for him. Suddenly, a receptionist approaches and accuses her of stealing the card, calling the police to arrest her without reason and with shocking speed. Just as the officers arrive and prepare to take her into custody, a man steps out of the elevator calm and composed. What the staff and police don't know is that they've just tried to humiliate the daughter of the man who owns the building. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from and subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. Yes, I require immediate police presence at the Grand Legacy Hotel. There is a young, suspicious black girl in our opulent lobby attempting to utilize what appears to be a purloined credit card. Bethany Miller, the hotel manager, a woman whose every step resonated with an almost frantic urgency across the polished marble expanse, practically materialized beside the front desk. What precisely is the unfolding situation? She demanded, her gaze already hardened by a preconceived judgment that bypassed any objective assessment of the nascent facts. Chloe Albright, the hotel receptionist, her 20-something face alight with a chilling satisfaction, uttered her pronouncement. This child is unequivocally attempting to perpetrate a deception upon us. She brazenly claims her father is some immensely influential CEO. Utter fabrications, all of it. I am not fabricating anything. The young black girl's voice trembled, infused with a profound confusion and palpable terror. My father bestowed this card upon me. She simply could not fathom why these adults, ostensibly custodians of hospitality, were subjecting her to such an accusatory, criminalistic scrutiny. The wail of police sirens intensified, drawing closer, growing louder, an auditory crescendo that promised confrontation. Chloe's visage illuminated with an almost predatory glee. See, I informed you the moment she entered this establishment that she exuded an air of trouble. 3 officers, their heavy boots thudding against the elegant flooring, burst through the grand hotel doors with an aggressive kinetic energy, as though they were responding to a high-stakes armed robbery in progress. Officer Reynolds commanding the charge, his demeanor overtly aggressive and primed for immediate confrontation, entirely neglected to even briefly appraise the prevailing circumstances. Where is the juvenile pilferer? He barked, his voice devoid of any nuance or inquiry. Not what is the nature of this situation, not could someone kindly elucidate what is transpiring, simply where is the little thief? Nova was, by this point, consumed by a terror that transcended mere words. I am not a thief, please. She was in that moment merely imploring these imposing adults to perform the most basic act of verification, a simple phone call to her father. That and only that was her profound yearning. Officer Davies's subsequent rejoinder would have churned one's very soul. Cease your protestations, child. We have encountered such elaborate narratives innumerable times before. Their minds, it was patently clear, had already rendered a definitive verdict of culpability. A mere 12-year-old child, and they had, with an astonishing swiftness, irrevocably formed their judgments. Yet in that precise instance, an unforeseen occurrence transpired, one that none within that agitated lobby could have remotely anticipated. The elevator doors, with a hushed, almost imperceptible sigh, glided open. Every single countenance within the lobby froze suspended in a moment of collective astonishment. The hotel personnel, even little Nova, everyone ceased their movements and became utterly captivated, staring intently because an unmistakable resonance had reverberated across that floor, an unspoken declaration that their entire perceived reality was on the precipice of an immutable alteration. Nova Dubois, the truly remarkable young black girl at the heart of this unfolding drama, possessed an intellect that far surpassed her tender years, always presented with an impeccable sartorial elegance, and carried herself with a quiet yet profound self-assurance that was the unmistakable hallmark of being nurtured and raised by an exceptionally extraordinary father. However, on this particular day, a subtle tremor of nervousness rippled beneath her usual composure, not due to any wrongdoing on her part, for her conscience was clear, but rather because of an effervescent excitement bubbling within her about the prospect of accompanying her father on what she envisioned as a straightforward, uncomplicated business expedition. Nova harbored a deep-seated passion, an intellectual curiosity that distinguished her from the vast majority of children her chronological age. She possessed an abiding affection for delving into the dense pages of business magazines. While her peers were typically immersed in the fleeting distractions of social media feeds, Nova meticulously studied the weighty analyses within Forbes and the intellectually stimulating articles of the Harvard Business Review, diligently nurturing her aspirations of one day seamlessly following in the formidable footsteps of her esteemed father. She perpetually carried a well-loved softened leather journal, its pages meticulously filled with nascent business concepts and strategic blueprints she had meticulously scribbled down whenever a spark of inspiration ignited within her discerning mind. This was far more than a mere ephemeral diversion or a fleeting pastime for Nova. This represented the foundational blueprint of her burgeoning future, and she approached it with an unwavering seriousness and dedicated purpose. Now, allow me to introduce you to Chloe Albright, the 26-year-old receptionist whose pivotal actions initiated that fateful, irreversible 911 dispatch. Chloe had dedicated 3 years of her young professional life to the Grand Legacy Hotel, and she harbored the firm conviction that she possessed an encyclopedic knowledge encompassing every intricate facet of the hospitality industry. Yet Chloe was notoriously swift to render judgment upon arriving guests, and she reveled with an almost unseemly delight in the dissemination of gossip concerning the diverse individuals who traversed the grand threshold of those doors. Conversely, Bethany Miller, the hotel manager, a woman of 34 years, had been entrenched at the Grand Legacy for 8 years, and she consistently assigned value exclusively to clientele who precisely conformed to her highly specific, predetermined demographic preferences. However, the singular most pivotal individual within the intricate tapestry of this unfolding narrative is Julien Dubois, Nova's father. At the age of 42, Julien stood as the formidable CEO and visionary founder of Dubois Global Hospitality Group, an expansive corporate entity that presided over the ownership of more than 250 hotels, strategically located across the vast global landscape. What rendered Julien's monumental success even more profoundly remarkable was the undeniable fact that he had meticulously forged this colossal empire from an utterly humble, self-made origin. As a devoted single father who steadfastly refused to permit anyone to dictate the limits of his potential achievements, Julien exuded an aura of elegant composure and unflappable control in every conceivable circumstance. Nevertheless, there existed one profound emotional trigger, capable of unleashing a tempestuous fury within him, a righteous indignation that only a privileged few had ever been permitted to witness firsthand. Any perceived threat or injustice directed towards his cherished daughter. The morning of this regrettable incident commenced in a manner indistinguishable from any other typical day within Julien's expansive penthouse office nestled high above the bustling thoroughfares of Manhattan. He was meticulously scrutinizing a voluminous stack of acquisition documents pertaining to the Grand Legacy Hotel itself, a particular property that had captured his discerning attention not due to its inherent profitability or operational triumphs, but rather because it was conspicuously faltering. Customer satisfaction metrics were undeniably in a precipitous decline, and Julien was with grave seriousness contemplating the drastic measure of summarily dismissing the entire existing management team and instigating a wholesale transformative overhaul. He possessed not the slightest inkling that within a mere few hours he would be furnished with an abundance of irrefutable evidence overwhelmingly compelling to substantiate and solidify that very decision. Julien turned his attentive gaze toward his trusted executive assistant, Samuel, and uttered a pronouncement that would in its own profound way reconfigure the entire trajectory of subsequent events. "Samuel, I intend to conduct an unannounced surprise inspection of the Grand Legacy today. Under no circumstances are you to notify the incumbent management. I shall also be bringing Nova along with me." Samuel, who possessed an intimate familiarity with Julien's distinctive and often unconventional business methodology, judiciously inquired, "Should I make arrangements for heightened security, sir?" Julien's immediate response served as a profound revelation concerning the intrinsic core of his character. "There is no necessity. I desire to observe firsthand precisely how they interact with and attend to ordinary, unassuming guests." Julien Dubois, acknowledged as one of the most formidably powerful and influential figures within the global hospitality industry, harbored the distinct wish to experience his potentially burgeoning new acquisition exactly as any regular anonymous customer would. He remained blissfully unaware that he was on the precipice of unearthing something far more egregious and deeply unsettling than mere deficiencies in customer service. When Julian and Nova finally arrived at the Grand Legacy Hotel, Nova's infectious excitement radiated outward, an almost palpable effervescence. "Dad, this edifice is truly astonishing. Is this particular one part of our extensive portfolio?" she inquired, her young eyes wide with an almost reverential wonder as they took in the polished marble floors and the dazzling, multifaceted crystal chandeliers. Julian offered his daughter a gentle smile, his heart warmed by her boundless enthusiasm. "Not yet, my darling, but it is a distinct possibility for the immediate future. I need to attend to certain matters. Would you be agreeable to waiting patiently in the majestic lobby while I conduct a crucial meeting with the current proprietor upstairs?" Nova, ever eager to project an air of sophisticated maturity beyond her years, promptly inquired, "Might I be permitted to order some delectable snacks?" Julian, without a moment's hesitation or reservation, extended his prestigious platinum credit card to his beloved daughter. "Of course, sweetheart. Here is my credit card. Feel free to order whatever your heart desires. I shall endeavor to return within 30 minutes. "Thank you, Dad," Nova replied carefully, almost reverently clutching the distinguished card and gracefully settling into one of the plush, inviting lobby chairs, her treasured business journal nestled comfortably in her lap. What subsequently transpired would irrevocably haunt Julian for the remainder of his days, an indelible scar upon his memory. As he ascended in the elevator, gliding effortlessly towards his meeting with the hotel's current owner, he possessed not the slightest premonition that he was entrusting his beloved daughter into the custodial care of individuals who had perceived the hue of her skin before they acknowledged the fundamental essence of her humanity. He was utterly unaware that within the span of those ensuing 30 minutes, Chloe Albright would cast her prejudiced gaze upon Nova and discern not a meticulously dressed, intellectually astute young girl, but rather an existential threat to be expeditiously expunged. Julian Dubois had dedicated the entirety of his illustrious career to the arduous task of systematically dismantling systemic barriers and unequivocally demonstrating that true success recognized no arbitrary chromatic boundaries. He had painstakingly constructed a vast hospitality empire founded upon the foundational principle that every single individual without exception was inherently deserving of being treated with an unwavering dignity and profound respect. Yet he was on the verge of a harrowing discovery that not every individual within his expansive industry espoused those same fundamental values. As Julian strode purposefully into that pivotal business meeting, his mind engaged in the intricate calculus of profit margins and ambitious renovation schematics, his daughter sat solitary in the grand lobby below, perilously close to becoming the innocent victim of the very prejudices that Julian had so ardently combated throughout the entirety of his purposeful existence. Nova occupied that inviting lobby chair, completely oblivious to the stark reality that her simple innocent request for snacks was about to ignite a calamitous chain of events, one that would brutally unmask the ugly, enduring truth regarding how certain segments of society still perceived black children within America. She was tragically about to assimilate a lesson that no young child should ever be burdened with learning that a regrettable contingent of adults would judge her not by the noble content of her character, her remarkable intellect, or her innate politeness, but solely by the indelible pigment of her. Now, it is at this juncture that this narrative takes an acutely unsettling turn. Nova Dubois, this genuinely sweet and utterly unassuming young girl, confidently approached the immaculate front desk, where Chloe Albright, the receptionist, was diligently attending to her duties, completely oblivious to the chilling reality that she was about to inadvertently step into a burgeoning nightmare. Chloe subjected Nova to a prolonged scrutinizing gaze, meticulously scanning her from head to toe with an immediate palpable suspicion. The very manner in which she appraised this innocent child, from the crown of her neatly braided hair to the tips of her polished shoes, eloquently conveyed the torrent of prejudiced assumptions swirling through her preconceived mind. "Can I be of any assistance to you?" Chloe inquired, but the timbre of her voice was utterly devoid of any genuine helpfulness. Instead, it was imbued with an overt, unmistakable hostility. Nova, being the inherently polite, impeccably raised child she was, responded with a genuine disarming sweetness. Hi, would it be permissible for me to order some delectable food items to be delivered here to the lobby area? My father indicated that it was entirely acceptable. A deceptively simple request, an uncomplicated plea from a 12-year-old child merely seeking snacks to quell a youthful hunger. However, Chloe's subsequent response dripped quite visibly with an almost sickening condescension. Your father, you say, and where precisely is this supposed paternal figure? Chloe demanded, her tone laced with an unmistakable insinuation, as if Nova were already engaged in a blatant fabrication regarding the very existence of her parent. Nova, still cloaked in her cloak of innocence and unwavering trust, patiently elucidated, he is currently upstairs engaged in a crucial meeting with the esteemed hotel owner. He is, in fact, in the process of acquiring this entire establishment. What unfolded next was quite frankly utterly disgusting. Chloe erupted into a derisive, mocking laughter, a sound devoid of mirth. Oh, truly, how remarkably intriguing! And what, pray tell, is your mother's name? She inquired, her voice a thinly veiled imitation of a seasoned interrogator cross-examining a hardened criminal. Julien Dubois. He is the CEO of Dubois Global Hospitality Group. Nova answered her words, ringing with the simple, unadorned truth. Chloe's retort was not merely cruel, it was overtly and profoundly racist. And I am Queen Elizabeth. Look, sweetie, I haven't the faintest idea what sort of elaborate charade you are attempting to perpetrate, but this particular establishment is certainly not that kind of place. Nova was by this point thoroughly confused and deeply wounded. Charade. I am not engaging in any charades. Here is my father's credit card, she pleaded, desperately attempting to furnish irrefutable proof of her unblemished innocence. Chloe subjected the card to an intense, suspicious scrutiny as though she were an esteemed forensic fraud detective. Julien Dubois. Never in my professional career have I encountered such a name. Where precisely did you unlawfully acquire this particular card? The accusation, though unuttered, explicitly hung heavy and unequivocally clear in the air. She was unequivocally implying that Nova had in fact purloined it. Nova was by now visibly agitated, nascent tears glistening at the corners of her young eyes. My father personally gave it to me. He expressly instructed me to order food. But Chloe was no longer listening, her attention already pivoting towards an imagined audience. Chloe pivoted towards other unsuspecting guests in the immediate vicinity and uttered a statement that would without doubt cause one's very blood to boil with righteous indignation. Can you, in your wildest imaginings, believe this audacious behavior? These people truly believe they can simply saunter into this establishment and... The phrase, these people. She was ostensibly referring to a mere child, yet her underlying insinuation was undeniably directed towards black individuals in their entirety. Nova, bewildered and deeply hurt, inquired, "What precisely do you mean by these people?" Chloe's response was an embodiment of pure malevolence. You comprehend with absolute clarity precisely what I signify. Little girls such as yourself do not by any stretch of the imagination belong in prestigious places such as this. She was with those venomous words conveying to a fragile 12-year-old that the mere pigment of her skin rendered her unwelcome and incongruous. Nova began to weep, soft, mournful sobs escaping her lips. I have done nothing wrong, she pleaded, but Chloe was merely warming to her cruel task. Chloe then beckoned urgently to Bethany Miller, the hotel manager. Bethany, I require your immediate presence over here, please. When Bethany approached, her expression already mirroring Chloe's hardened judgment, Chloe immediately and with a premeditated malice painted Nova as the unequivocal villain. This child is unequivocally attempting to utilize what I am quite confident is a purloined credit card. She preposterously claims her father is some immensely influential CEO. Bethany scrutinized Nova with the identical dismissive attitude. Is that an accurate assessment, and where, pray tell, is this supposed parental figure of yours? Nova, with unwavering resolve, continued to articulate the unvarnished truth. He's currently upstairs, engaged in a crucial meeting with Mr. Finch about the acquisition of the hotel. Bethany and Chloe exchanged knowing conspiratorial glances as though they were engaged in a high-stakes encounter with a master criminal rather than a bewildered, traumatized child. Mr. Finch, the owner, is that correct? Bethany enunciated with an acerbic sarcasm. Chloe, by this point, exuded an air of smug satisfaction. See, the elaborate narratives continue to escalate in magnitude. Initially, it was merely about ordering sustenance. Now her father is purportedly in the process of acquiring the entirety of the hotel. They were with a breathtakingly perverse logic, interpreting Nova's unwavering consistency as irrefutable evidence of duplicity, when in stark reality it served as incontrovertible proof of her veracity. The precarious situation deteriorated further when Chloe, her voice laced with chilling authority, informed Nova, "Look, I am going to require you to patiently wait over there while we meticulously ascertain the true provenance of this card." She was, in essence, treating Nova as a bona fide criminal suspect deserving of surveillance. Nova, now gripped by a desperate urgency, pleaded, "Could you please just this once telephone my father? He is presently in Suite 2012. Bethany, after consulting her computer screen for a moment, declared, "Suite 2012 is Mr. Finch's private office. He is, in fact, the owner." This child is truly pushing the boundaries of credibility. They were with a stunning display of willful blindness, employing Nova's precise and accurate information as incriminating evidence against her. Chloe's aggression intensified, her features hardening with each passing moment. She is unequivocally lying. She most likely observed him ascending to that floor and then fabricated this entire elaborate narrative. Then, with a chilling lack of self-awareness, she articulated a statement that laid bare her true insidious intentions. "Should I proceed with contacting the authorities, I do not feel secure with her continued presence here." Miss Eleanor Vance, another esteemed employee within the hotel, attempted a timid intervention. She approached the escalating scene, and her voice, gentle yet firm, interjected, "Excuse me, but this child appears profoundly distressed. Perhaps we should—" But Chloe, with an abrupt and dismissive gesture, summarily cut her off. "Madam, we have this delicate situation entirely under our control. This child is unequivocally attempting to utilize a purloined credit card," Chloe asserted, effectively silencing any nascent voice of reason. Miss Vance, undeterred, posed a singularly logical question. "Have you, in your due diligence, attempted to verify the authenticity of the card?" Bethany's ensuing response was extraordinarily revealing. "We are handling this matter in our own established manner." It was abundantly clear that they harbored no genuine desire to verify anything, for they had, with a predetermined certainty, already rendered Nova culpable. Miss Vance, her resolve undiminished, spoke up, her voice a quiet yet resonant plea. "Perhaps we could simply initiate a call to the telephone number prominently displayed on the card itself." Chloe snapped back at her, her voice sharp and contemptuous. "Kindly attend to your own affairs, madam. This falls squarely within the purview of the reception's responsibilities." She was, with an almost zealous determination, actively impeding anyone from executing the ethically correct action. Nova was now weeping with greater intensity, her small body racked with sobs. "Please, just call my father. His name is Julien Dubois. He owns a multitude of hotels." Chloe's subsequent rejoinder was arguably the cruelest and most heartless yet. "A multitude of hotels, honey? I have been immersed in this complex business for 3 years. I possess an intimate familiarity with every major hotel company of significant repute. Your father, in fact, does not exist." She was, with those devastating words, systematically stripping a child of the very existence of her parent. Nova, in a desperate last-ditch effort, attempted to personally contact her father, pulling her smartphone from her pocket, but Chloe, with a swift, predatory motion, snatched it away. "Absolutely not. Not until we meticulously ascertain precisely what kind of intricate scam you are attempting to orchestrate." Bethany unequivocally supported Chloe's draconian decision. "Chloe is entirely correct. We are compelled to involve the authorities in this matter." Chloe, by this point, was absolutely triumphant. She summoned the elderly security guard, Frank. "Finally, Frank, could you kindly maintain surveillance over her while I initiate a call to 911 inches, she uttered with an unbearable smugness. Frank, visibly uncomfortable and hesitant, began, "Chloe, perhaps we should—" He attempted to articulate his misgivings, but Chloe, with an imperious gesture, summarily cut him off. "Simply execute your assigned duties, Frank," she commanded with an air of absolute authority. Then the pivotal moment arrived, the singular instant that would irrevocably alter everything. Chloe, her lips set in a thin, determined line, seized the telephone receiver and placed the fateful call, one that would, in its profound repercussions, inexorably dismantle her entire life. 911. Yes, I require immediate police presence at the Grand Legacy Hotel without delay. There is a manifestly suspicious black child currently in our opulent lobby, attempting to utilize what appears to be a purloined credit card. Nova overheard this damning pronouncement, and her voice choked with anguish, cried out, "I am not suspicious. Why are you uttering such falsehoods?" But Chloe, undeterred, relentlessly continued her litany of fabrications. She is behaving in an exceedingly aggressive manner and brazenly concocting elaborate narratives about her father. We require officers to be dispatched here immediately. Bethany, with a chilling readiness, joined in the character assassination. Inform them that she is preposterously claiming her father is a renowned CEO, a complete and utter fabrication, I assure you. Then Chloe articulated a statement that unequivocally revealed the pervasive, insidious racism at the very heart of this entire lamentable situation. The child, it is glaringly apparent, originates from a markedly different background than our customary distinguished clientele. The different background. These were unmistakably thinly veiled code words, a euphemism for being black. Chloe had, with a blatant disregard for truth and human dignity, explicitly communicated to the responding police officers that Nova, owing solely to her racial identity, was an unwelcome and incongruous presence within their esteemed hotel. While Chloe was thus engaged on that telephone systematically dismantling an innocent child's nascent life with her premeditated falsehoods, Nova sat forlornly in that plush lobby chair, hot tears streaming incessantly down her young face, entirely oblivious to the profound irony unfolding 30 floors above her. Her father, Julian, was in the process of concluding a momentous business meeting and was on the cusp of making a devastating discovery that his beloved daughter had been cruelly traumatized by the very individuals he was on the verge of integrating into his vast corporate family. The police officers were, by this point, en route, their minds already unequivocally convinced that they were responding to a genuine criminal transgression. Yet the solitary heinous crime being perpetrated in that gilded lobby was the systematic destruction of a child's intrinsic innocence by purportedly responsible adults who, with a blinding prejudice, perceived only the color of her skin before they acknowledged the fundamental purity of her humanity. If you in your moral compass firmly believe that these adults were profoundly wrong to render such an ill-conceived judgment upon this little girl, we implore you to engage by hitting the subscribe button and typing yes into the comment section as we proceed to unveil the remainder of this captivating story. What subsequently transpired served as an irrefutable, deeply unsettling affirmation that the systemic framework was broken, profoundly flawed, from its very apex to its foundational base. 3 formidable police officers burst through those imposing hotel doors with an almost brutal force, as though they were executing a high-stakes raid on a bank robbery in progress rather than responding to a mere child attempting to order sustenance. Leading this aggressive charge was Officer Reynolds, a white officer whose demeanor exuded an aggressive, unyielding disposition, and who had, with a chilling certainty, already solidified his prejudiced judgment long before he even cast a single glance upon the actual situation. Trailing closely behind him came Officer Green, a Hispanic officer who, by virtue of his own life experiences, should have possessed a more discerning understanding, yet chose inexplicably to passively conform to Officer Reynolds's prejudicial lead. And finally, Officer Davies, another white officer whose dismissive, contemptuous attitude towards children was on the precipice of being thoroughly exposed. Officer Reynolds did not for a solitary moment assess the intricacies of the situation, nor did he make any sincere attempt to comprehend the unfolding events. He immediately, with an imperious voice, demanded, "What is the precise situation here?" Chloe was practically radiating with an almost incandescent satisfaction. "Officers, I extend my profound gratitude for your timely arrival. This child has been persistently attempting to utilize a purloined credit card and has become belligerent, even confrontational, when subjected to our legitimate questioning." Officer Reynolds cast his gaze upon Nova, this trembling, sobbing child, and his primary instinctive reaction was not one of nascent compassion. It was instead one of ingrained suspicion. "Is that an accurate assessment? What is your appellation, child?" Nova, through her irrepressible tears, reiterated the same unadorned factual answer she had been consistently providing throughout this ordeal. "Nova Dubois. My father is Julian Dubois. He is presently upstairs engaged in a meeting. I did not by any means pilfer anything." Officer Green's subsequent response was utterly disgusting. He conspicuously rolled his eyes and drawled, "Julian Dubois, allow me to hazard a guess. He is a neurosurgeon or an acclaimed attorney, perhaps. He was with that cynical utterance, overtly mocking the very notion that a black child could possibly possess a successful, accomplished parent. Officer Davies was, if anything, even more reprehensible. These children invariably fabricate such convoluted, elaborate narratives. From where in actuality did you acquire the card? He uttered with an acerbic sarcasm. They had, with a chilling predetermination, unilaterally decided that Nova was an incorrigible liar long before they had even deigned to lend an ear to her side of the story. Officer Reynolds, with an air of profound approval, commended Chloe for initiating the police dispatch. An astute decision to involve us. One cannot exercise too much caution in these complex situations. Chloe, by this point, was visibly pleased with herself. That officer was precisely my apprehension. She simply does not belong within these hallowed premises. Nova, in one final desperate, heart-wrenching plea, cried out, "Please just permit me to contact my father. He is directly upstairs." A deceptively simple request, one that would have expeditiously resolved the entire escalating imbroglio within a mere 30 seconds. Officer Davies, with an unyielding finality, summarily silenced her immediately. No calls shall be permitted until we meticulously ascertain the true provenance of this card. It was at this precise juncture that something truly remarkable and profoundly beautiful transpired. Miss Eleanor Vance, the elderly woman who had been with quiet dignity observing this flagrant injustice unfold, finally mustered her courage and stood tall. "Officers, I have been an eyewitness to this entire distressing situation. This child has exhibited nothing but impeccable politeness throughout." She was in that brave moment attempting to serve as Nova's sole advocate when absolutely no one else in that room dared to intercede. But Officer Reynolds, with an air of dismissive superiority, summarily brushed her aside. "Madam, we commend your concern, but we possess the requisite expertise to effectively manage this matter." Marcus Thorne, a young, earnest front desk clerk, found within himself a fleeting moment of profound courage. "Officers, I respectfully propose that we simply contact the telephone number prominently displayed on the card to verify its authenticity." He was, with his earnest suggestion, attempting to offer a practical and immediate solution to the rapidly escalating situation. Officer Green, with an air of condescending superiority, abruptly cut him off. "Son, we do not require instructional guidance on the proper execution of our duties." Officer Reynolds, his voice now imbued with the harshness of a seasoned interrogator, commenced cross-examining Nova as though she were a hardened, incorrigible criminal. "Where in actuality do you reside, child? What is your genuine narrative?" Nova was now weeping with even greater intensity, but she steadfastly clung to the unvarnished truth. "I reside in Manhattan with my father. He is the owner of numerous hotels. He serves as the CEO of Dubois Global Hospitality Group." Officer Davies turned his scrutinizing gaze towards Chloe and inquired, "Dubois Global Hospitality Group, have you in your extensive experience ever encountered such an entity?" Chloe, who had minutes earlier audaciously claimed an encyclopedic knowledge of every major hotel company, emphatically stated, "Never." "And I assure you I am intimately acquainted with every significant hotel conglomerate." She is unequivocally fabricating her entire story. Officer Green, with a theatrical sigh, shook his head in a gesture of profound disbelief. These children are continually devising increasingly creative and intricate narratives. Bethany, with a chilling eagerness, piled on the accusatory rhetoric. "Officer, she has been fabricating falsehoods since the very moment she entered this establishment. Initially, it was merely about ordering sustenance. Then her father was purportedly in the process of acquiring the entire hotel." Officer Reynolds nodded sagely, his expression confirming his unwavering conviction. "Right. The narratives continued to expand in their absurdity. Then came the singularly agonizing moment that would undoubtedly turn one's stomach with revulsion. Officer Reynolds, with an air of absolute authority, unilaterally decided to effect the arrest of a 12-year-old child. "All right, child, you are accompanying us to the station. We shall meticulously sort this entire affair out there." Nova was consumed by a terror that transcended any descriptive language. "No, please. My father is here. He is within the confines of this building." She screamed, her voice raw with desperation. Officer Davies, with an almost callous dismissiveness, retorted, "Sure he is, kid." "Chloe, our profound gratitude for your unwavering vigilance." Chloe exuded an air of smug satisfaction, her lips curled into a triumphant smile. Merely executing my professional duties, officer. One simply cannot permit these people to assume they can brazenly saunter into our establishment and... Yet even as this nightmarish tableau unfolded with agonizing slowness in the gilded lobby below, something profoundly significant was transpiring 30 floors above an event that would irrevocably alter the entire dynamic. Julien Dubois was in the process of concluding his crucial meeting with Mr. Alistair Finch, the hotel's current proprietor. He glanced at his wrist, observing his watch, and realized with a jolt that he had significantly exceeded his anticipated time frame. I shall now proceed to check on Nova, and we can meticulously finalize these remaining details tomorrow, he informed Mr. Finch, gathering his voluminous papers with a practiced efficiency. Julian then stepped purposefully into the elevator, entirely unaware that his cherished daughter was at that precise moment being unjustly arrested in the lobby far below. As the elevator began its smooth, silent descent, he was engrossed in contemplation of the remarkably successful negotiation he had just concluded, his mind already meticulously planning the details of the delightful dinner he and Nova would partake in that very evening. The elevator bell chimed softly, a gentle, almost ethereal sound as it gracefully reached the ground floor. The doors began to part with a hushed mechanical whisper, a sound that seemed to slice through the palpable chaos and tension permeating the lobby. A fleeting shadow manifested first, followed swiftly by the elegant outline of a man impeccably attired in a custom-tailored suit. Julien Dubois stepped forth from that elevator with an unassailable aura, as though he commanded the very essence of the world, for in a myriad of profound ways he indeed did. His mere presence, even before he uttered a solitary word, commanded an immediate and unwavering attention from everyone present. The precise rhythmic click of his handcrafted leather shoes against the polished marble floor echoed through the vast lobby like an inexorable countdown to a day of profound reckoning. He moved with the confident stride of an individual who had painstakingly constructed an empire from an utterly humble, self-made origin, the resolute gait of someone who had never not once retreated from a formidable challenge, the commanding presence of a man who had triumphantly conquered countless boardrooms filled with formidable adversaries who mistakenly believed they could intimidate him. But this was no longer about the intricate world of business. This was with an unyielding certainty about his beloved daughter. Julian's penetrating gaze swept across the unfolding scene before him, meticulously absorbing every minute detail with the razor-sharp precision of a man who had, through years of rigorous experience, learned to instantaneously decipher people and rapidly evolving situations within mere milliseconds. He registered the presence of the police officers. He observed the startled faces of the hotel staff. And then his eyes fell upon the glistening tears streaking down his daughter's innocent face. And in that singular explosive moment, every single individual within that lobby was about to receive an unforgettable lesson in the stark reality of true power. The vast lobby succumbed to an oppressive silence, broken only by the inexorable sound of those precise rhythmic clicks drawing closer. Julien Dubois was not merely traversing a hotel floor. He was with an undeniable force, striding purposefully into battle, and every single individual who had so cruelly wronged his daughter was on the precipice of confronting a reckoning they would without doubt never ever forget. When he finally articulated his first words, his voice, though modulated, carried the resonant authority of an individual who wielded control over billions of dollars, yet simultaneously resonated with the raw, untamed fury of a father whose cherished child had been profoundly wronged. Nova. He uttered, his voice sharp and incisive, cutting through the thick tension like a honed blade. What precisely is transpiring here? Nova attempted to rush into her father's comforting embrace, but Officer Reynolds, still intoxicated by his own perceived authority, callously blocked her path. "Dad, they refuse to believe me. They are convinced I stole your credit card," Nova cried out, her voice raw with anguish. Officer Reynolds, still clinging desperately to his misguided sense of power, imperiously held up his hand. "Hold on there, child. And who, pray tell, might this individual be?" Julian's eyes, now ablaze with a cold, righteous fury, locked onto Officer Reynolds's with an intensity so potent it caused the officer to involuntarily recoil a discernible step. When he finally spoke, his voice was chillingly devoid of warmth, imbued with an unassailable command. "I am her father. Now I unequivocally demand that you remove your hands from my daughter immediately." The sheer shock that registered on Chloe's face was in that moment utterly beyond valuation. That's simply not possible," she stammered, her voice incredulous. But Julien Dubois was not merely any father fortuitously walking into this escalating crisis. He was a man who had meticulously constructed an unparalleled empire, who had valiantly combated the insidious forces of prejudice and discrimination throughout the entirety of his purposeful existence, and who had just with his own eyes borne witness to the catastrophic failure of the very system to protect his beloved daughter in the most profoundly devastating manner conceivable. The inevitable reckoning was poised to commence. If you, in a similar circumstance, found yourself in Julien's shoes, witnessing your cherished daughter being unjustly arrested for committing absolutely no transgression, what in that moment of profound injustice would have been your decisive course of action? We invite you to subscribe and share your considered thoughts in the comments section below. What transpired next stands as arguably the most shocking and infuriating exhibition of ingrained stubborn ignorance intertwined with overt racism one could ever hope to encounter, even when confronted directly with a formidable, articulately spoken man who by all objective appearances unequivocally belonged within the luxurious confines of that high-end hotel. These officers and the hotel staff, with an astonishing obstinacy, categorically refused to acknowledge the indisputable truth that was manifest directly before their very eyes. Officer Reynolds scrutinized Julien with an expression of unadulterated skepticism. "You purport to be the father. Can you in fact furnish proof of that assertion?" Julien's subsequent response was steeped in a profound, incredulous disbelief. "Prove it. She is my daughter." What precisely is transpiring here, and why is this even a question? Chloe, with a desperate defensive alacrity, interjected, still desperately attempting to rationalize her utterly indefensible actions. This child was attempting to utilize a purloined credit card. She preposterously claimed her father was some immensely influential CEO. Julien's voice, though outwardly calm, possessed an underlying lethal seriousness. "That credit card, officer, is my personal property. I am Julien Dubois, the CEO of Dubois Global Hospitality Group," but they, blinded by their preconceived notions, simply refused to believe him, partly because of his composed, understated demeanor. Officer Davies's dismissive, contemptuous response unequivocally demonstrated the profound depth to which his ingrained prejudice ran. "Right, and I'm the President of the United States. Look, sir, we are going to require you to present some official identification." Chloe, her paranoia reaching unprecedented dizzying heights, whispered conspiratorially to Bethany, "He's probably an accomplice. They meticulously planned this elaborate scheme together." Julien, without the slightest hesitation or outward show of defiance, calmly produced his official identification. "Here is my identification. Now I demand that you explain to me in precise detail why my daughter is being treated with such egregious criminality." Officer Reynolds barely afforded the identification a cursory glance before summarily dismissing it with a contemptuous wave of his hand. "Anyone can fabricate a counterfeit identification. We are going to require substantially more proof than merely that." Chloe, with an obstinate insistence, doubled down on her profound ignorance. "Officers, I have never in my entire professional career heard of Dubois Global Hospitality Group. I am intimately acquainted with every major hotel company." Bethany, with a misguided loyalty, unequivocally supported her employee's unfounded assertion. "Chloe is entirely correct, officer. She possesses an exceptional depth of knowledge concerning the industry." Officer Green, with a relentless cruelty, continued his unprovoked assault on Nova's intrinsic character. "The child most likely stumbled upon the card and meticulously fabricated the entire narrative." Julien had, by this point, endured enough. His voice, now chillingly cold, reverberated through the silent lobby. "Officers, I demand your badge numbers immediately." Officer Reynolds, when thus challenged, became overtly aggressive, his face flushing crimson. "Sir, you need to temper your demeanor. We are simply executing our assigned duties." Julien's cutting rejoinder sliced through his purported authority like a razor-sharp knife through gossamer. "Your duties, your sworn duty is to safeguard and serve, not to maliciously terrorize a 12-year-old child." Chloe, with an astonishing audacity, attempted to assert her diminishing authority over Julien. "Look, I haven't the faintest idea who you imagine yourself to be, but you cannot simply stride in here and—" Julien, with a devastating authoritative precision, abruptly cut her off. I know with absolute certainty precisely who I am. The pertinent question, Miss Albright, is, do you? Officer Green, with an almost sickening frankness, exposed his true, deeply entrenched sentiments regarding race and socio-economic class. Look, we receive calls of this specific nature perpetually. Children from certain neighborhoods. Julian was absolutely not about to allow that insidious insinuation to pass unchallenged. Certain neighborhoods? What precisely are you implying? Officer Davies attempted to feebly defend their undeniable blatant bias. We are simply being pragmatic here. Then the singular decisive game-changer manifested. Mr. Alistair Finch, the esteemed hotel owner, stepped smoothly off the elevator, having evidently overheard the growing commotion emanating from his office high above. Julian, I distinctly heard raised voices. Oh my goodness, what on earth is transpiring? The precise instant Mr. Finch uttered Julian's name, with such an unmistakable familiarity and reverence, one could, with chilling clarity, observe the very blood drain from every single countenance within that agitated lobby. Chloe's formerly confident smirk vanished instantaneously, replaced by a pallid horror. Bethany's defensive posture crumbled, dissolving into an abject fear. Even Officer Reynolds's aggressive, combative stance faltered, momentarily collapsing. Julian turned towards Mr. Finch, his expression a study in controlled fury. Richard, these officers are baselessly accusing my daughter of credit card theft, and your esteemed staff initiated their involvement. Mr. Finch was by this point shocked beyond any descriptive words. Officers, this distinguished gentleman is Julian Dubois. He is in fact in the process of acquiring this very hotel. We have just concluded our highly productive meeting upstairs. The ensuing silence was utterly deafening, a profound vacuum of sound. Chloe's complexion resembled that of someone on the verge of intense nausea. Bethany's mouth hung agape in an expression of unmitigated horror. Officer Reynolds's face, which moments prior had been flushed red with aggressive anger, now transformed to an ashen white with unadulterated terror. He's truly... Chloe stammered, utterly incapable of completing her sentence. Mr. Finch cast a look of profound disgust upon his now trembling staff. You contacted the police on Julian Dubois? Are you, for the love of all that is rational, completely out of your minds? Officer Green was the first among the law enforcement trio to fully grasp the colossal magnitude of their catastrophic miscalculation. Sir, we were not privy to that information. You were not privy to that information because you did not bother for a solitary moment to verify anything. Mr. Finch exploded, his voice resonating with a righteous fury. You observed a black child and with an astonishing lack of discernment immediately assumed she was a hardened criminal. Bethany attempted to articulate a defense, but her voice emerged as a barely audible whisper. Mr. Finch, we were simply exercising a degree of caution. Caution? Mr. Finch's voice escalated, rising in a crescendo of indignation. You mercilessly harassed one of the most powerfully influential men in the entire global hospitality industry, and in doing so profoundly traumatized his innocent daughter. Chloe was now visibly trembling, tears welling in her eyes. I was unaware. She mentioned Dubois Global Hospitality Group, but I had never encountered the name. You never encountered the name because you are utterly ignorant. Mr. Finch snapped his patience, having completely evaporated. Dubois Global Hospitality Group presides over the ownership of more than 250 hotels worldwide. Julian Dubois is unequivocally one of the most extraordinarily successful CEOs in all of America. The fact that he does not seek relentless social notoriety does not by any stretch of the imagination negate his very existence. The officers exchanged terrified, furtive glances amongst themselves. Officer Reynolds's aggressive demeanor had completely evaporated, dissolving into an anxious meekness. Sir, if we had possessed the prior knowledge of your true identity, Julian's voice, now colder than Arctic ice, cut him off. If you had possessed the prior knowledge of my true identity, you say. So you only deign to treat individuals with the fundamental respect they deserve if they happen to be immensely wealthy and profoundly powerful. What then of every other child who does not possess a father such as myself? The undeniable veracity of his scathing words struck every single individual within that lobby with the force of a psychological sledgehammer. They had, in that egregious display, revealed their true, unsightly character, and there was absolutely no conceivable way to retract or undo their actions. Mr. Finch, his hands visibly trembling with agitated fury, retrieved his phone. "Julian, I am initiating a call to Chief Wallace right this instant. This entire debacle is utterly inexcusable." Chloe was now openly weeping, finally comprehending with sickening clarity that her entire professional career was irrevocably over. Bethany's expression was one of profound shock. The officers stood rigidly frozen in place, their faces etched with the stark realization that they had, with their own hands, irrevocably obliterated their own professional futures. Julian turned towards Mr. Finch, his voice imbued with a deadly calm. "Richard, I desire a full and comprehensive investigation into precisely how these officers and your staff treated my daughter today. Their actions are utterly unforgivable." Mr. Finch, without hesitation, immediately began dialing. "Absolutely. This is without question completely unacceptable." The phone rang precisely once before Chief Wallace answered, his voice brusque. "Finch, what is the nature of this emergency?" Mr. Finch's voice was now shaking, not with fear, but with an unbridled anger. "Chief, your officers are currently harassing Julien Dubois and his innocent daughter at my hotel." There ensued a pause that seemed to stretch into an interminable eternity. Then Chief Wallace's voice exploded through the speaker, raw with disbelief and fury. "Julien Dubois, the esteemed CEO of Dubois Global Hospitality Group, are you in all seriousness jesting with me?" Officer Reynolds' voice, which moments ago had been filled with arrogance, was now suddenly riddled with an unmistakable nervousness. "Chief, we were merely conducting an investigation into a potential theft." Chief Wallace summarily cut him off with a barely controlled fury, his voice resonating with the finality of a judge delivering an unequivocal verdict. "Reynolds, you and your entire team are hereby ordered to stand down immediately. Mr. Dubois, I extend my most profound apologies." Chloe whispered to Bethany in an almost inaudible horror. "This simply cannot be transpiring." But it was undeniably transpiring. The man they had so contemptuously dismissed, the child they had mercilessly terrorized, the family they had profoundly humiliated. They were all about to discover with brutal finality that actions invariably yield consequences, and certain consequences possess the power to irrevocably transform one's life forever. Julian's voice was steady, unwavering, and profoundly imbued with the unmistakable promise of impending justice. "Chief Wallace, I demand a full and exhaustive investigation into the deplorable conduct of these officers and your hotel staff concerning the treatment of my daughter." At that precise climactic moment, every single individual within that lobby simultaneously realized that they had not merely committed an egregious error. They had, with their reckless actions, inadvertently forged an implacable adversary in one of the most powerful and influential men in the entire global hospitality industry, and he was with an unwavering resolve about to unequivocally demonstrate to them the precise ramifications of that catastrophic miscalculation. The telephone call, initiated by Mr. Finch, galvanized Chief Wallace, causing him to race to the hotel with a speed that astonished everyone present. Upon his arrival, his face was flushed crimson, a vivid tableau of mortification and unbridled fury at the utterly indefensible actions perpetrated by his officers. One could visibly discern the immense weight of his leadership responsibilities pressing down upon his shoulders as he fully grasped the devastating reality his department had, just through gross negligence and prejudice, profoundly traumatized an innocent child, and in doing so, humiliated one of the most formidable business titans in the entire nation. "Mr. Dubois, I find myself utterly incapable of expressing the profundity of my remorse. This deplorable behavior is without question completely unacceptable." Chief Wallace articulated his voice heavy with an unmistakable genuine contrition. Julian's subsequent response was meticulously measured, yet profoundly devastating. Every single word was chosen with an exquisite precision designed to penetrate and dismantle any conceivable excuse or specious justification. "Chief, your officers rendered egregious assumptions about my daughter based solely upon her racial identity. They steadfastly refused to verify her truthful narrative, and in doing so, mercilessly terrorized a child." Officer Reynolds, still stubbornly clinging to his misguided sense of self-righteousness, attempted to mount one final pathetic defense. We were merely adhering to established protocol based upon the preliminary information we received. Chief Wallace, with the unassailable finality of a judge delivering an unequivocal verdict, summarily cut him off. Reynolds, you are hereby suspended pending a thorough investigation. All three of you. The immense weight of those words hung oppressively in the air, a veritable death sentence to their professional careers. Officer Davies, his face a mask of disbelief, could scarcely comprehend the magnitude of the catastrophe unfolding around him. His entire professional world was rapidly crumbling into irretrievable ruin. This is utterly preposterous. We were merely executing our assigned duties based upon the directives provided by the hotel staff. Chloe was now in a full-blown panic, her voice trembling uncontrollably as the chilling realization of the colossal magnitude of her actions crashed down upon her. I was merely exercising caution. I genuinely believed she was fabricating falsehoods. Chief Wallace's rejoinder was swift and unyieldingly clear, cutting through decades of institutionalized bias with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Exercising caution does not under any circumstances grant you license to racially profile innocent children. The consequences manifested with a breathtaking rapidity and brutal force akin to a meticulously arranged set of dominoes toppling in a catastrophic chain reaction. Mr. Finch turned his gaze upon Chloe, his voice imbued with an icy severity, his profound disappointment and seething anger almost palpable in every syllable. Chloe, you are hereby terminated immediately. Collect your personal belongings. Chloe, her face now a canvas of pleading desperation, hot tears streaming incessantly down her face as her entire professional career and livelihood evaporated before her very eyes, cried out, "Mr. Finch, please, I was merely safeguarding the hotel. I was unaware." Julian's retort sliced through Chloe's specious excuses like a blade meticulously forged from unyielding truth and righteous indignation. You were unaware because you never not once bothered to verify. You cast your prejudiced gaze upon a black child and immediately prejudicially assumed the absolute worst. Chloe was now weeping with even greater intensity, her voice breaking as she desperately attempted to salvage some semblance of dignity from the utter wreckage of her inexcusable actions. I am not a racist. I was merely executing my assigned duties. Julian's voice was calm, yet unyielding, delivering a profound lesson that Chloe would undoubtedly carry with her for the remainder of her life. Your assigned duty was to provide exemplary customer service. What you in fact perpetrated was egregious discrimination. Mr. Finch had not yet concluded his dispensation of justice. His profound disappointment in his management team was searingly evident in every single word he articulated. Bethany, as manager, you bore the ultimate responsibility to have handled this situation with far greater discernment and professionalism. You are also hereby terminated. Bethany was now consumed by a desperate panic, witnessing her entire career crumble irrevocably before her very eyes, her mind reeling with thoughts of her own innocent children awaiting her at home. Sir, I was merely following Chloe's lead. I possess children whom I must support. Julian's response exhibited no discernible mercy, for mercy was not what justice in this precise pivotal moment demanded. So too does my daughter. She now bears the unimaginable burden of living with the profound trauma that you so callously inflicted. The vast lobby had in its metamorphosis become an impromptu courtroom, and Julian Dubois, with an unassailable authority, assumed the dual mantle of both judge and jury, meticulously delivering verdicts that would irrevocably alter lives forever. However, the most severe and profound judgment was unequivocally reserved for those who had so grievously inflicted pain upon his cherished child. And the most profoundly significant conversation, the one that truly mattered, was yet to unfurl. Julian, with a deliberate grace, knelt down to Nova's eye level, his impeccably tailored, expensive suit brushing lightly against the cool marble floor as he gazed deeply into his daughter's eyes, his own brimming with the boundless love only a devoted father could possess. This truly was the singular moment of paramount importance. Not the intricate multi-billion-dollar business negotiations or the satisfaction of justice being meticulously served, but rather the delicate, painstaking act of healing his daughter's deeply wounded spirit. Sweetheart, I am profoundly sorry that this dreadful experience befell you. Julian uttered his voice gentle, yet imbued with an unwavering strength. Nova's innocent, heartbreaking question pierced the stillness, bringing tears to the eyes of all who overheard and unequivocally revealed the true agonizing cost of the afternoon's lamentable events. "Dad, why did they treat me with such cruelty?" I was articulating the unvarnished truth the entire time. Julian's answer was perfectly calibrated, a masterful blend of honesty without being overwhelming and educational without being unduly preachy. "Because, my darling, some individuals permit prejudice to profoundly cloud their judgment. They perceived the pigment of your skin and, without hesitation, made unwarranted cruel assumptions." Nova then articulated the question that every single parent in their most profound fears dreads to hear. The question that with a stark clarity revealed precisely how this traumatic experience had already begun to irrevocably alter her innocent view of the world. "Will it, Dad, ever transpire again?" Julian's response was simultaneously honest and profoundly empowering, meticulously preparing his daughter for the harsh realities of the world while assiduously fortifying her nascent confidence. "It might, my love, but you must always remember with unwavering conviction that you belong absolutely anywhere you desire to be. Never under any circumstances permit anyone to tell you otherwise." Nova's subsequent question was, if anything, even more heart-wrenching, starkly revealing the profound depth of her nascent fear and acute vulnerability. "What, Dad, if you had not descended to the lobby?" Julian's answer, delivered with a quiet strength, brilliantly showcased the unbreakable bond they shared and the unshakable foundation of trust that would without doubt sustain them through any future challenge. "Then, my precious, we would have courageously combated it together. But you, my baby, committed absolutely no transgression. Nothing." The individuals who had, with varying degrees of discomfort, witnessed this profound injustice unfold began to cautiously approach them, each carrying their own burden of guilt and their individual yearning for redemption. Miss Eleanor Vance, the elderly, dignified woman who had been a silent observer of the entire unfolding drama, stepped forward first, her aged frame moving with a quiet dignity and a clear purpose. "I bore witness to everything. Your daughter was in every conceivable aspect an absolute angel. I am profoundly ashamed of the manner in which she was subjected to such deplorable treatment." Julian's gratitude was palpable and unfeigned, profoundly acknowledging the immense courage it must have required for Miss Vance to vocally intercede. "Thank you for bravely speaking up. It signifies everything to me that you stood by her side." Marcus Thorne, the young, visibly nervous front desk clerk, approached them hesitantly, his conscience heavy with the palpable weight of his initial perceived inaction. "Mr. Dubois, I am profoundly sorry that I did not take more decisive action earlier. I was paralyzed by the fear of irrevocably losing my employment." Julian's response was understanding, yet firmly resolute, offering both forgiveness and a crucial lesson for the future. "Marcus, fear is an entirely understandable human emotion, but next time summon the courage to act upon what is morally right from the very outset." Frank, the security guard, shuffled over his head, bowed low, his profound shame undeniably evident in his every hesitant step. "Mr. Dubois, I should have intervened and halted this sooner. I myself am the father of 2 daughters." Julian's response, measured and compassionate, eloquently underscored his profound character and his insightful understanding of the intrinsic complexities of human nature. "Frank, I genuinely appreciate your sentiment. Utilize this deeply unsettling experience to evolve and become a better version of yourself." Despite every deplorable event that had transpired, despite the undeniable trauma inflicted upon his beloved daughter, Julian still harbored the resolute intention to acquire the hotel. This profound decision was not motivated by a vengeful desire for retribution. It was rather driven by an overarching vision for profound transformation. "Richard, I am still proceeding with the acquisition of the hotel, but I demand immediate and sweeping changes." Mr. Finch was visibly eager to make full amends, profoundly aware that Julian's visionary leadership could irrevocably transform not merely this specific property, but indeed the entire hospitality industry at large. "Whatever you require, Julian. I am utterly mortified by the events that have transpired here today." Julian's meticulously articulated demands were comprehensive and far-reaching, specifically designed to unequivocally prevent such an egregious incident from ever recurring. These included mandatory implicit bias training for all existing staff, the immediate implementation of new equitable hiring practices, the establishment of clear, unambiguous protocols for the handling of sensitive guest situations, and the creation of a substantial scholarship fund established in Nova's name, dedicated to supporting underprivileged children. Mr. Finch agreed immediately, his voice ringing with conviction, profoundly recognizing the inherent wisdom and unassailable justice embedded within Julian's requirements. Consider it done, Julian. Furthermore, I am promoting Marcus to the position of manager. He unequivocally demonstrated a profound integrity when it mattered most. Marcus was visibly shocked, his face illuminating with a mixture of profound surprise and overwhelming gratitude. Truly thank you, Mr. Dubois. I assure you I will not disappoint you. Julian's response was immensely encouraging, showcasing his remarkable ability to discern untapped potential, even amidst profoundly challenging circumstances. I am confident you will not. You possess excellent instincts, Marcus. Trust them implicitly. Then Julian executed an action that utterly astonished every single individual within that lobby. He turned his attention towards Chloe and Bethany, the two women who had so cruelly traumatized his beloved daughter, and extended to them an offer that was by all accounts truly extraordinary. I am going to extend to both of you something that by conventional standards you do not by any means deserve. Chloe, her face a mask of profound surprise and utter confusion, struggled to comprehend how Julian could possibly extend any semblance of kindness after the harrowing events that had transpired. What? Julian's offer was indeed extraordinary, profoundly revealing the immense depth of his character and his unwavering belief in the latent potential for human change and redemption. A second chance. There are available positions at my other distinguished hotels contingent upon your successful completion of extensive implicit bias training, significant community service, and a tangible demonstration that you have genuinely learned from this profoundly unfortunate experience. Bethany, her mind reeling, found herself utterly unable to comprehend such a profound act of generosity after such callous cruelty. Why, Mr. Dubois, would you possibly extend such assistance to us after the deplorable actions we perpetrated against your cherished daughter? Julian's elucidation brilliantly revealed the true essence of his character and the fundamental values that had painstakingly forged his vast empire. Because I hold an unwavering conviction that individuals are capable of profound change, and because your own children, Miss Albright and Miss Miller, undeniably deserve mothers who have learned invaluable lessons from their grievous mistakes. Chloe was now openly tearful and overwhelmed with gratitude, profoundly moved by the sheer magnanimity of someone she had so deeply wronged. I am at a loss for words. Thank you, Mr. Dubois. Julian's response was profoundly insightful, eloquently demonstrating how wisdom and compassion possessed the remarkable power to transform even the darkest and most despairing of situations. Do not extend your gratitude to me. Extend it rather to Nova. She is the one who, with her inherent goodness, ultimately persuaded me that every individual without exception is deserving of a genuine second chance. But what Julian remained blissfully unaware of was that their extraordinary story was merely beginning its profound unfoldment. Miss Eleanor Vance, the elderly hotel guest, who had with her discreet vigilance witnessed every single distressing detail, had been surreptitiously recording crucial segments of the incident on her smartphone. That very evening, she courageously uploaded the compelling video to social media, accompanied by a succinct yet powerfully resonant caption that would irrevocably alter everything. This truly is what unyielding courage looks like. A father's boundless love and a daughter's unshakable strength in the face of egregious injustice. The video achieved an unparalleled viral status overnight. Within a mere few hours, it had been shared millions of times across various platforms. The hashtag #NovasBravery began trending worldwide, a testament to its profound impact. People were universally outraged by the stark injustice they witnessed, a 12-year-old girl being callously treated like a hardened criminal solely due to the pigment of her skin. Julian's phone began its incessant ringing at precisely 6:00 in the morning, a relentless symphony of incoming calls. The inaugural call originated from CNN. Mr. Dubois, this is the office of Jake Tapper. We would be honored to secure an interview with you regarding the harrowing events that transpired at the Grand Legacy Hotel. The deluge of calls continued unabated. NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, BBC, and dozens of other prominent news outlets, both domestic and international, clamored to narrate Nova's compelling story. Julian's assistant Samuel was visibly overwhelmed, his face a mask of stunned exhaustion. Mr. Dubois, you currently have over 300 interview requests awaiting your consideration. Julian cast a thoughtful glance towards Nova, who was at that moment engrossed in reading the outpouring of supportive comments from around the world. What are your thoughts, sweetheart? Do you wish to share your narrative? Nova's response, delivered with a quiet strength, eloquently showcased the resilience she had inherited from her formidable father. Yes, Dad. If it serves to assist other children, then yes, I wish to tell my story. The interviews commenced that very afternoon. Nova and Julian sat side by side, a picture of quiet strength, gracefully and with profound dignity, articulating their harrowing story. Nova's remarkable composure, particularly for a child her age, deeply impressed every single individual who watched. When the interviewer posed the poignant question regarding her emotional state during the incident, Nova's raw, honest answer brought tears to the eyes of countless viewers. I was profoundly scared and utterly bewildered. I could not for the life of me comprehend why they steadfastly refused to believe me when I was merely articulating the unadorned truth. But my father imparted a crucial lesson that experiencing fear does not in any way signify weakness. It merely signifies that you are fundamentally human. The compelling narrative ignited a profound national conversation concerning the pervasive issue of racial profiling, particularly when it tragically involved innocent children. Prominent civil rights organizations universally lauded Julian's astute and dignified handling of the tumultuous situation. The National Urban League released a formal statement articulating, Julian Dubois has, through his exemplary conduct, unequivocally demonstrated to us precisely how to respond to egregious injustice with a potent blend of both unwavering strength and profound grace. His daughter Nova stands as an undeniable inspiration to children across the entire nation. The immense pressure exerted upon the police department was immediate and overwhelmingly palpable. Within a mere week, Chief Wallace formally announced that all 3 officers directly implicated in the incident would face rigorous disciplinary hearings. Officer Reynolds was, in the end, summarily dismissed from service. Officers Green and Davies were suspended without remuneration and mandated to complete extensive retraining programs. Chloe and Bethany found themselves abruptly thrust into the epicenter of an unforgiving media storm. Their names and faces were ubiquitous across the vast expanse of the internet, their identities irrevocably exposed. Chloe, in particular, received a barrage of terrifying death threats and was compelled to relocate to her sister's residence for safety. Bethany's own children were mercilessly bullied at school, suffering the collateral damage of their mother's egregious actions. The profound consequences of their actions extended far beyond the mere forfeiture of their employment. However, Julian truly meant what he had articulated concerning the profound significance of second chances. 3 months subsequent to the incident, he personally initiated telephone calls to both women. The offer, it remains on the table, he conveyed to them. If you are genuinely prepared to embrace profound change, I am unequivocally prepared to assist you in that transformative journey. Chloe, upon hearing Julian's words, broke down into uncontrollable sobs over the phone. Mr. Dubois, I have been diligently attending therapy sessions. I am actively engaging in introspection regarding my own ingrained biases. I profoundly desire to become a better person. Bethany was equally overcome with emotion. I have been assiduously volunteering at a community center situated within a predominantly black neighborhood. I am with a stark clarity observing precisely how my preconceived assumptions were utterly fallacious concerning every aspect. Julian's response, characteristic of his profound leadership, resonated with wisdom. Change is a continuous process, not a final destination. If you are unyieldingly committed to that transformative process, then we can indeed collaboratively work together. The profound story continued to reverberate with far-reaching ripple effects throughout the entire global hospitality industry. Major hotel chains, prompted by the compelling narrative, commenced the immediate implementation of new comprehensive training programs. The American Hotel and Lodging Association, recognizing the gravity of the situation, proactively created the Nova Dubois Standard, a meticulously crafted set of protocols specifically designed to unequivocally prevent any future acts of discrimination within hospitality settings. Nova, in an unforeseen turn of events, became an unlikely yet powerful spokesperson for the fundamental rights of children. She received numerous invitations to speak at schools and various community centers. Her message, though deceptively simple, resonated with profound power. Every child, without exception, deserves to be treated with fundamental respect. Every child deserves to be unequivocally believed when they articulate the unvarnished truth. The scholarship fund, meticulously established in Nova's name, grew exponentially, far exceeding anyone's most optimistic expectations. Generous donations poured in from every corner of the globe. Within a solitary year, it had amassed over $2 million, dedicated solely to supporting the educational pursuits of underprivileged children. Julian utilized his influential platform to directly address deeply ingrained systemic issues within the hospitality industry. He testified before the United States Congress concerning the urgent necessity for federally mandated anti-discrimination training requirements. His compelling testimony was watched by millions worldwide. What tragically transpired to my daughter was not merely an isolated incident. Julian passionately informed the Congressional Committee. It was a chilling symptom of a much larger pervasive problem. We cannot simply mete out punishment for individual acts of discrimination. We are compelled to fundamentally alter the ingrained culture that actively permits such abhorrent acts to occur. The Grand Legacy Hotel, under Julian's transformative guidance, became an exemplary model for truly inclusive hospitality. Under Marcus's astute management, it achieved the highest customer satisfaction ratings in its entire history. The diverse staff that Julian had so meticulously insisted on hiring brought forth a wealth of new perspectives and innovative ideas that demonstrably enhance the quality of service for every single guest. Nova returned to school with a newfound sense of profound purpose. She initiated a club she passionately named Young Voices for Justice, where students could openly discuss and critically examine pressing issues of fairness and equality. Her teachers were utterly astonished by her remarkable maturity and burgeoning leadership capabilities. 6 months subsequent to the pivotal incident, Nova and Julian returned to the Grand Legacy Hotel. The transformation was truly remarkable, akin to stepping into an entirely different, re-envisioned world. Marcus was undeniably thriving in his new role as manager, leading a diverse, exceptionally well-trained staff who unequivocally comprehended that the essence of true hospitality lay in welcoming every single individual without exception. Chloe and Bethany were diligently working at other Dubois Global Hospitality hotels, having successfully completed their rigorous training and extensive community service, genuinely transformed by their profound experience and profoundly grateful for the invaluable second chance they had been so generously afforded. The opulent lobby that had once echoed with the discordant sounds of egregious injustice now vibrated with the vibrant, harmonious energy of genuine hospitality. The meticulously crafted plaque prominently displayed proclaiming Dubois Global Hospitality Group, where everyone belongs, had transcended mere words. It had, in its profound symbolism, become a living, breathing promise that was being diligently honored and meticulously upheld every single day. Julian's reflective voiceover thoughtfully contemplated the arduous journey, the lingering pain, and the profound growth, the unyielding pursuit of justice, and the boundless act of mercy. Change is undeniably arduous, but it is, without question, profoundly possible. Today, my daughter did not merely confront injustice. She bore witness to its audacious challenge, its resolute confrontation, and its eventual triumphant overcoming. But more profoundly than that, she assimilated the invaluable lesson that her unique voice possessed the undeniable power to effect a tangible difference in the world. Nova's voiceover beautifully illustrated her remarkable evolution from an innocent victim to a triumphant victor, from a wounded child to an empowered, resilient young woman. I learned with an undeniable clarity that being inherently different is not by any means a flaw, that certain individuals will regrettably judge me, but that their judgment does not and never will define me, and that my Father will perpetually fight tirelessly for me. But I also assimilated the profound realization that I possess the intrinsic capacity to fight for myself, and indeed, for countless others. Chloe's voiceover poignantly revealed her profound transformation, the genuine heartfelt change that had irrevocably transpired within her heart and discerning mind. I learned with a painful clarity that my preconceived assumptions inflicted profound hurt upon real people, sentient individuals, and that I was utterly compelled to transform myself to become a better version of myself. Mr. Dubois extended to me a second chance, and I solemnly vow that I will not in any manner squander it. The final poignant shot depicted Nova and Julian standing together in the reimagined lobby, surrounded by the diverse welcoming staff and the luminous plaque that had by then become a universally recognized symbol of enduring hope. The polished marble floors that had once resonated with the chilling sounds of egregious injustice now brilliantly reflected the nascent light of profound change and boundless possibility. Julian gazed upon his daughter with an unmistakable pride, perceiving not just the cherished child he had always loved, but the remarkable young woman who had with an unyielding fortitude emerged from this harrowing trial infinitely stronger and even more resolutely determined. Nova, are you prepared to assist me in orchestrating the management of this colossal empire? Nova's response was confident, brimming with an infectious hope, her voice imbued with the unwavering strength of someone who had confronted profound adversity and triumphantly emerged victorious. Absolutely prepared, Dad. Let us embark upon a mission to ensure that every single child everywhere feels unequivocally safe and profoundly welcome. Julian's concluding words eloquently encapsulated the very essence of their shared mission and the enduring legacy they were destined to collaboratively construct. That's my girl. Let us fundamentally alter the world one magnificent hotel at a time. This profound narrative unequivocally demonstrated to us that while the insidious forces of prejudice and discrimination undeniably persist, they can, with resolute conviction, be confronted and indeed ultimately overcome when individuals possess the inherent courage to steadfastly champion what is morally right. It profoundly illustrated that genuine second chances hold immense significance, that transformative change is undeniably attainable, and that on occasion, the most potent and indomitable force in the entire world is the boundless, unwavering love of a father for his cherished child. Nova Dubois had initially entered that grand hotel as a mere 12-year-old girl, seeking nothing more than simple snacks. She departed as a resilient young woman who had with her own eyes witnessed the very nadir of human behavior, yet simultaneously bore witness to the formidable power of justice, the boundless grace of forgiveness, and the enduring beacon of hope. Her compelling story rapidly became a potent catalyst for widespread change, not merely within the confines of a single hotel, but indeed across an entire industry, unequivocally proving that sometimes the most profoundly significant revolutions commence with a singular act of unyielding courage and a father's unwavering, unconditional love. But Nova's story did not culminate on that fateful day. It instead transformed into a luminous beacon of hope for children across the globe, unequivocally demonstrating to them that their voices possess inherent significance, that truth wields undeniable power, and that even in the darkest and most despairing of moments, there exist individuals who will steadfastly champion what is morally right. Nova Dubois had, through her ordeal, definitively found her powerful voice, and the entire world was now compelled to listen. If you found profound enjoyment in this compelling narrative, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and share it widely with others so that they too may absorb its invaluable lessons. We eagerly anticipate our next encounter.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.